Hi, welcome to Apache Hadoop 3x course. I'm Abhishek Sakuja from UpDegree, and in this video we are going to look at Linux users. So in the previous video we have already taken a look at the different Linux commands and also that how to use the navigation shortcuts. In this video we are going to talk about that Linux multi-user environment where we are going to have we can create different users in different groups, and it's very simple to create, very quick, you can do it. And here we also have different files, user files that are being kept separately. Like if you are a user on Linux environment and you want to separate out your files from any other, you want to separate out your directories from any other users, you can do that. So it's a very simple way of doing it. We can actually switch between the different users. Say you are one of the user and there is another common user where you would like to switch. You can just use something called as su command and you can simply make a switch. So let's take a look what is a Linux user is all about. So I'm already logged in a machine. So here you can see that we have one of the user called UpDegree. That's the username that we have created initially, right? So if I want to take a look at the UpDegree user, I just say ID. I will say UpDegree, and here you can see that this is your UID, which is user ID is 1000, and for that's your UpDegree, and the group ID is also 1000, that is UpDegree, which means that this user belongs to the group called UpDegree, but it also belongs to other groups, for example ADM, CD-ROM, sudo, dip, plugdev, lp admin, and Sambashare. So why this user belongs to so many groups? Because this is the first user that we have created on the machine which owns this machine, right? Which is can also act as a super user. So first time when you create such user, you get all the group privileges. But when you want to create a new user, how do you simply create it in Ubuntu? Now the thing is that creating a user requires a super privileges, and we already know that if I want to use a super privileges, what do? I use sudo. If I don't use sudo, it will not allow me to create the user or allow me to create a group. We can try once, right? So first of all, you always create a group. So in Ubuntu and in CentOS or RHEL, there is a very small difference when you create such group or such users, right? Or let's do one thing. Let's create a user first. I'll say add user, and you can give your username. Let's take a username as Linux user. Okay. Once you do this, you can see that only root may add a user or a group to the system. So you're not allowed to do that. So what you do, you use your upgraded privileges as a super user, and then it will say, okay, if you're using the sudo, you need to authenticate it. So I will just authenticate that, yes, I'm the authorized person who's using the sudo, and it will say, okay, you have created a group. Now what you can do is you have to give the password, because if you want to log in with the same user, of course you should have some credentials. Let's give the password one, then give the another, retype your password, and then you need to give the information about the user. What is the full name, what is the room number, like whatever you have, like work phone, home phone, others. Is this information correct? I'll say yes. I don't want to fill all these details for now. So if I want to look the user, I will say yes, there is a user called Linux user, right? So by default, the Linux user group will also be created as Linux user, but I didn't like this name called Linux user as a group itself. So let us create a group and add this user into that group. So simply we can say sudo add user in group Hadoop as Linux user. This is like already been created, so that's why you cannot see. So what we'll do, that's why I said like we need to create a group. So let's create a group called Hadoop, and then we'll create another user which can add it. So sudo, I will use the same command, sudo add user in group as Linux user 1. So now you give the new user credentials and say yes, everything is yes, fine, yes, it's correct. And now if I check Linux user 1 group is like different, because earlier what we did when we created by default only the user, the group was created automatically. Although you can use a command called add mod of the user, which is like altering the user name or the group name. You can just keep adding the different users to a group. It's very straightforward, but this is what we are going to use as a simple command, which is we are going to add user in the group, and this is how we're going to create a group. Simple as that. So once your user is created, you can also delete it. So you just say delete user. Again, you need to use sudo privileges, and if I say Linux user, I would like to delete it, and the user is now removed. The user is Linux. Okay, so then there is no such user. Now if you want to change to another user, right? From here, I would like to switch to Linux user 1. I will use this su, and then you give the password and you're into this. But remember, this user doesn't have a sudo privileges. So of course, if I use sudo and try to use any command, it will say, sorry, this user is not as a sudoer. So this incident will be reported because you are trying to do something nasty with the system as you do not have some permissions. So this is how you can create the users. Let me just exit and go back to my user. Now, if this user would like to create any of the directories, say if I'm creating a make directory as up degree. Now, if you observe over here, if this user has created this directory will be owned by that particular user. Now, how do we say that this is owned by that user? Here you will see that the user in the group is given over here, and that is how you will identify that this particular directory or a file is owned by this particular user. Now, how do we identify it is a directory? As I already told you, okay, the color is blue, then it's a directory. But what about you are working in a different shell environment? How do you identify? Just on the left hand side, the first letter, if you see, if it is D, it means it's a directory. If it is nothing, it's a file. So here it's a file or any tar file, right? Here it's a tar file, but here it's a directory. So this will help you identify that this is a directory or not. Now let's talk about the privileges. The user roles, the normal user modify their own files, cannot make system changes that we have already seen with Linux user 1, where he doesn't have a privileges to go inside the sudo where the sudo owns. Right, so he cannot make any changes to any other file because he doesn't have the privileges to use a sudo command. So super user, that's a root, modify any file, make system changes, which could be dangerous as well, because if somebody do not understand what exactly sudo can do, sudo can completely ruin the system as well. So sudo has completely all privileges on the system. Make sure that you use it wisely. Now, file permissions. Now, what are the different types of file permissions we have in the Linux environment? There are two types. One is called octal and other one is a symbolic. I prefer octal more because it's simple, easy to understand, and very easy to remember and very fast, right? Everywhere you're going to see moreover like an octal command. But yes, symbolic is a way that will make people really understand if they do not know that how to work with the Linux environment, which will give you some kind of alphabets in it to understand what the command is doing. So what is an octal? Octal is a numeric representation which will help you understand that what is the type of permission that you would like to make on a file or a directory. If you go back over here, there are always three levels of privileges. One is read, R, write, W, and X as an execute. Means you can read a file if you have a read privileges, you can write a file if you have a write privileges, and you can execute that file. Means if it is a code and you want to execute, then only can be executed if you have X, which is an execute privileges on that. So this is divided in octal. So in octal we say that the 4 means read, 2 means write, 1 means execute. So the total privileges become 7. Do not like the others. I'm just giving you one example, which is read means 4, write means 2, execute means once, right? So that is how you can give the privileges to a user. Let's take an example to understand it in a better way. We'll take an example with any of the file. Let's say we have a file sample.tar and I would like to change the privileges for this user. Now there are three types of privileges as well. The first, if you see these three blocks, I mean three permission levels over here, which is read, write, execute. This is for a user like up degree. The next 3 is for the group. The group is given over here. The next to it, it's for again an up degree group. And the last one is for others. So how do we read this? The user has read write privileges on this file. The group has read write privileges on this file, and the others, any other user who's in the Linux environment has been logged in, only read permission to this file. This is how you can read. Now, if I want to change this, I can change the privileges by chmod. And this can only be done by sudo because this is a system privileges and nobody else can do it except the owner of that file or the sudo. Because I'm the owner of that file, so it's very straightforward. I can use chmod. Now, let me make it 777. The first 7 is it's here, which is 4 plus 2 plus 1, which is read, write, execute makes 7. So 7 will be given over here, sorry, here, 7 will be given over here, 7 will be given over here, and 7, which means all the privileges to everyone, users group, and also the other people. So let's see if I give sample.tar and now check. See, it changed all privileges to anybody on the system. Now if I make it read only permission to all the user group and the others. So if I give 444, it is like read, and now if you see, it's read. If I would like to give only the privileges read and write to the user and read to others, it will be now read, write and read to others. So that's 664. So then you can play it around. You can make it like 754, 764, any kind of these privileges you can just make it, but you just need to remember read means 4, write means 2, and execute means 1. You just plus them and that's how you get your number. Simple. Then with the symbolic is a more representation kind of thing, where you have to specifically give like read, write, execute for a user. Then you want to give group is equals to read only, or if you want to subtract any of the privileges, it's minus RWX. So therefore, if you are adding a privileges, you just do plus. You are removing privileges, you do minus. But equal to means you're adding that privileges and removing all others. That's the difference. So if here I give chmod only to user, I want to give all the privileges, so I'll give read, write, execute. And then if I check, it will be read, write, execute will be given to the user. And if I want to give it to group as well, I'll just do with the group, and you'll observe that group also got this. And now if I would give equal to only read, then the read will be given but the others will be removed from the group. Similarly, you can do for others as well. So if I give others and I want to give others read and execute only, so I will just read, write, execute is X, not E. Okay, and then if you see, read, execute. So this is how your privileges can work. Some examples like the octal is 777. A means all. Either you can write it this, or you can write U plus RWX comma G plus RWX comma O plus RWX. So that is the representation of a simple way. You can just A means A, all, and you can give privileges to everyone with this simple way of doing it. 644 means user get read and write, group gets read only, and others group are only. 700 means all the permission will be removed from the group and the others, but user will get all the privileges because it's 7. So this is how you can work with the file permission. If I want to change the permission of a file to any other user, how do I do that? So you just say change ownership, and if it is a directory, it's always preferred to use -r because that's what means recursively. You're going to allocate the recursive permissions to the directory, and then you say I would like to give the ownership to Linux user who belongs to Hadoop group on updegree folder. Okay, degree, and then if we change ownership, sorry, my mistake because I didn't use sudo, and here we can see, yep, it's changed the permission. So this is how you can change the permission. So that's what we have in this video. In the next video, we are going to download the Hadoop packages. Along with that, also the basic packages required for our machine. Thank you.